Chapter 3013. Bronze Chamber. I was wrong, please spare my life. Fairy Lu knew that her father was not here, and no one could save her. She quickly knelt down. I am indeed very ugly. But that is because my father mated with a dragon ape and gave birth to me. I should not have sent people to kill you. I was wrong, please spare me. Her voice floated out, and everyone was dumbfounded. Fairy Lu was actually the offspring of a human and a beast? Even Lin Ling's eyes focused. No wonder she was so ugly. However, this Fairy Lu's father was really desperate. He would not even let off an ape. You asked us to spare your life. But if your father was here today, I don't know if you would spare our lives. Shaking his head, Lin Ling walked forward. In the past, Fairy Lu wanted to kill him, but because of Bailey Yanwu, he spared her life. However, who knew that this ugly woman would be so vicious and send people to kill them? Did she think that he, Lin Ling, was easy to bully? Yes, I definitely will. You have to believe me. Fairy Lu raised her head, her ugly face full of sincerity. She also did not expect that the cockroach of the past would be able to threaten her life today. Everything was like a dream. Seeing this, Lin Ling smiled and shook his head again. Unfortunately, I don't believe you. Of course, the most important thing is that you are too ugly. Staying in the world to harm people is better than dying. After saying this, Lin Ling decisively sent out a palm strike. The ferocious realm energy shook Fairy Lu to death. Dead, dead, dead. Seeing the fallen Fairy Lu, the surrounding people all fell silent. They were both excited and afraid. They were excited because this demoness was finally dead, and there was no need to torture them anymore. They were afraid that once the demoness died, the head of the Lu family would definitely be furious. You all should leave. Leave Dragon Tooth City immediately. Go. Lin Ling seemed to know that these people were innocent. He turned around and smiled at the youths. Benefactor, you want us to leave? Go. Hearing this, the eyes of the handsome men and women all became moist. No one knew how they had lived all these years. Hurry up and leave. If the head of the Lu family returns, with his temper, I'm afraid you all will be buried with him. Lin Ling said again. Everyone nodded gratefully. Some of them looked at Lin Ling and pondered for a moment. Suddenly one of them said, Benefactor, this evil woman loves to kill people. After killing people, she feeds them to her dogs. I want to throw her to the dogs because my brother died in her hands. When they said this, the youth's eyes were filled with coldness. Fine, I'll feed the dogs then. It's best to leave some words in the hall. At least let the Lu clan master know where his daughter died. Lin Ling immediately nodded. Thank you, Benefactor. Those youths all rushed towards Fairy Lu, then spat at her, stepped on her corpse, grabbed her hair, and rushed out of the hall. It was obvious that they had suffered a lot over the years, which was why they hated Fairy Lu so much. Benefactor, you should leave quickly too. A naked girl looked at Lin Ling and said. Her delicate body was extremely attractive, but Fairy Lu didn't let them wear clothes, so she was used to it. Seeing this, Lin Ling shook his head. He took off his cloak and covered the girl's body. The girl's face instantly turned red. There should be a lot of treasures in this Lu residence, so I don't want to leave yet. Lin Ling looked at the girl with a smile. She didn't know why, but those clear eyes and delicate face made the girl's heart beat wildly. Her beautiful eyes suddenly lit up. If we're talking about treasures, I remember Miss said it's in the East Wing. Oh, then thank you. Hearing this, Lin Ling's eyes lit up. With a direction, he could save a lot of time searching for treasures. Then he also took out some heavenly treasures and gave them to the girl. Then he took Sakura and went to the East Wing. Xiaoxiang, why aren't you leaving? At this moment, the girl was wearing Lin Ling's cloak. She was still in a daze as she recalled the smell of the cloak. Don't look. His world isn't something we can enter. We just need to remember this kind of genius in our hearts. The girl next to her guessed something. I know, but I really want to know his name. The eyes of the young girl in the large cloak were filled with hope. To her, being able to know the name of her benefactor was a great blessing. Let's go. However, she knew that this was just wishful thinking, so she put on the cloak and left the hall. At this moment, Lin Ling didn't know what the girl was thinking. Even if he knew, he wouldn't care because he was going to be hunted down by a half-saint. Therefore, Even if he wanted to take the girl with him, he would implicate her. Moreover, he didn't plan to keep her. Who is it? Along the way to the East Wing, they met more and more strong people. I'm Lin Ling, the person your master is looking for. Billowing flames appeared on the surface of Lin Ling's body. He was like a star in the night. What? Didn't you leave the city? Without any suspense, everyone was shocked. Their expressions were as if they had seen a ghost. An old man reacted. We've been fooled, our master has been fooled. When ordinary people encountered the pursuit of a half-saint expert, their first choice would be to leave the half-saint expert. Therefore, they thought Lin Ling's first choice would be to escape into the ancient forest. Who would have thought that Lin Ling would go the opposite way, causing everyone to be fooled? I can only say that your master is too stupid. Lin Ling sneered. He took a step, and the world-devouring beast, and the dragon god's bone burst out. He punched those strong people. Boom! 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 Once he attacked, no one could stop him, unless they were at the peak of the martial immortal realm. Sakura laughed loudly. He also attacked. He turned into a skeleton and pierced through the night. A halberd appeared in his hand. He waved it and took a life. At this moment, no one in the entire Liu family could stop Lin Ling and Sakura. In the end, the ground of the Liu family was dyed red with blood. Lin Ling and Sakura strode forward. Not long after, they arrived at the East Wing. It was a sealed secret room made of bronze. There were runes flashing on the surface. Obviously, it was a profound barrier. You two are really bold. I, the Reverend King, have cultivated for 13,000 years. This is the first time I've seen the younger generation provoking a half-saint like you. However, in front of the bronze secret room, an old man sat cross-legged. There were a lot of chains on his body, so he couldn't leave the secret room 10 meters away. The Reverend King was a strong person in Jiuzhou. After he was defeated by Lu Xingyan, he promised to guard the secret room for the rest of his life. In exchange, Lu Xingyan spared his family. This was an expert at the peak of the martial immortal realm. Senior, are you really going to stop us? Lin Ling could see that the Reverend King was not hostile to them. However, he didn't allow them to enter the bronze secret room. He was the guardian of the treasure. My two little friends, your talents are good. In the future, you will definitely be outstanding. Why do you want to challenge the half-saint realm when your cultivation is not high? I advise you to leave immediately. If Lu Xingyan returns, I'm afraid you will stay here forever. Lu Xingyan is the disciple of the Heavenly Court's martial god. His strength should not be underestimated. Chapter 30:14. The Guardian of the Treasure at the Peak of the Martial Immortal Realm. Thank you for reminding me. May I ask, after defeating you, can we enter the secret room? Lin Ling smiled and said lightly, after defeating me, you have the qualification to enter, but it does not mean that you can enter. Moreover, there is not much time left for you because before dawn, Lu Xingyan will be back. Thank you, Senior. Before dawn, this time is enough. Lin Ling and Di Shirtian looked at each other, their eyes full of fighting spirit. Peak of the martial immortal realm. This was their first battle. Rumble. Di Shirtian took the lead to attack. The halberd in his hand was mixed with the power of the universe, and attacked the old man. Heavenly Sharp 5 Elements Chain. The old man was surprised, but he soon calmed down. He waved his right hand, and the chain under him moved like a snake and collided with Di Shirtian's halberd. Ka. The chain seemed soft, but it was mixed with the power of the universe and blocked Di Shirtian's halberd. Rank power. Di Shirtian's face suddenly changed, but the more he fought, the fiercer he became. He waved his halberd, and the aura of the underworld was extremely strong. Little friend, your talent is very good, but unfortunately, your realm is too low. In the past, I was also an emperor-level genius in the 9 regions, but I lost to other geniuses and declined. Today I will teach you a lesson. Maybe you are very extraordinary in your hometown, but there are many geniuses in the 9 regions, descendants of gods, the bloodlines of the 100 regions, and the 10 ferocious of the 9 regions. These rising stars with powerful origins have advantages beyond your imagination. The old man waved the chain again, and it was impenetrable. Di Shirtian could not shake his opponent for a while, and he became more and more anxious. because dawn was getting closer and closer. Senior, I am also going to attack. Seeing this, Lin Ling's face became dignified. Let's attack together. I am at the peak of the martial immortal realm. It is not shameful for the two of you to join hands. The old man said with a smile. His tattered clothes gave off the feeling of an otherworldly expert. However, he was not hostile to Lin Ling and Lu Xingyan. On the contrary, he admired them because Lu Xingyan was also his enemy. Although Lu Xingyan promised to let his people go, he knew later that Lu Xingyan had gone back on his word and wiped out his family. At that time he wanted to resist, but unfortunately he was chained up. Now he had been chained up for 8,000 years. Rumble! Lin Ling attacked again, and the realm-swallowing beast appeared. Desolate body. The old man's expression became serious. He waved the chain, and like a law of the universe, it slammed towards Lin Ling. 10% of rank power. The chain instantly appeared in front of Lin Ling, and wrapped around his arm like a snake. He couldn't shake it off for a moment, and felt a sharp pain in his arm. He knew that it was rank power. Only this kind of power could hurt his body. However, although his talent wasn't strong, his martial arts experience was not weak. Again, Lin Ling's battle intent became stronger. The dragon bone appeared, and the dragon god roared. What? Double talent? And it is also a desolate body. It is the dragon god. Boy, you are going to transform into a dragon. This time the old man exclaimed. It was the first time he had seen a junior with two desolate body talents. After the dragon bone appeared, Lin Ling's strength increased greatly. He shook off the chain in his hand, and threw a punch at the old man. Hee, I've been here for 8,000 years, and I've been trying to comprehend the rank of a martial art. How could my rank be weak? After the old man recovered from his shock, he smiled faintly. His body shook, and the chains that bound him buzzed. Under the vibration, the whole Dragon Tooth city shook. Upon closer inspection, the chains passed through his collarbone, meridians and dantian. No wonder he was controlled by Lu Xingyan. He wanted to resist, but he couldn't. At this moment, the mysterious chains formed an 8 trigrams array and blocked Lin Ling's punch. At the same time, Sakra's halberd also arrived and attacked the 8 trigrams chain array. At this moment, the old man's face became serious. These two boys were as fierce as tigers. However, their realms were still a little weak. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to stop these two today. 20% of rank power. With no intention of hiding his strength, the old man shouted and let the 8 trigrams chain array's light soar into the sky. The power of the universe completely merged with his talent. What was more frightening was that his true god martial spirit had reached the state of the 4th seal. It was incomparably powerful in all aspects. Comprehending a martial art rank in 8,000 years was not something an ordinary person could endure. Only a martial arts fanatic could. Because of the stubbornness of a martial arts fanatic, he could achieve greater results in martial arts. Second brother, there is not much time left. After attacking for a long time without success, Sakura became more and more anxious. I should use all my strength. Yes. Hearing this, Lin Ling nodded. The fusion of the 4 dantians actually suppressed the 8 trigrams chain array and deformed it. What a troublesome guy. Yes. The more the old man fought, the more surprised he was. He knew that he had underestimated these two, especially the blue-robed junior. He was obviously not an ordinary person. Time is getting shorter. Yes. However, the old man still blocked Lin Ling and Lu Xingyan's attacks, so he reminded them again. Senior, you lost. Sigh. Seeing this, Lin Ling also looked at the sky and floated back. Previously, he only wanted to experience how strong 20% of the rank power was. Now he had a preliminary understanding. Unfortunately, he also wanted to continue fighting, but time waited for no one. I lost. Brat, don't talk big. Sigh. Hearing Lin Ling's words, the old man couldn't help but laugh. I think you have reached your limit. You can't defeat me at all. However, you don't have to belittle yourself. With your strength, you can be considered one of the top geniuses in the Spirit Province. Sigh. I never talk big. Sigh. The corner of Lin Ling's mouth outlined a confident smile. His right hand finally touched the scabbard behind him, The scabbard was currently Lin Ling's strongest trump card. The reason why he didn't use it at the beginning was that he didn't want to rely too much on this heaven-defying existence. In the space, a wisp of demonic chi began to spread out. It was cold and sharp. Time seemed to be frozen. Sakura was stunned. He felt that he had lost contact with everything around him, as if the space had become gray. The old man's reaction was even more intense. A trace of uneasiness rose in his heart. "My head, where is it? God!" Suddenly, the voice of an ancient god sounded. An ancient figure appeared behind Lin Ling. His clothes fluttered in the wind, as if he was a demon god who had fought with the gods. "What is this? God?" The old man's expression changed greatly. Even someone as powerful as him was panicking. However, at this moment, sword light appeared, sparkling and resplendent. Chapter 30:15. The Dragon Monument. Rank power. The old man shouted in horror. Then he laughed bitterly. He knew that he was dead for sure. That was because the sword gave him the feeling that it contained 20% of rank power, and it was even stronger than ordinary rank power. It was most likely a power passed down by a god. On top of that, the youth's fleshly body was powerful, his realm essence was rich, and his talent was heaven-defying. With all these factors added together, he knew that this sword strike could kill him. "I have no regrets dying to this sword strike. I had originally thought that only a half-saint could kill me. But today, a junior at the 4th level of the martial immortal realm is capable of killing me as well. The younger generation surpasses the older generation. The younger generation surpasses the younger generation," the old man said with a smile before he died. Clang! With a slash of the sword, it severed the universe. All of the chains were cut off. However, just as the old man thought that he was going to die, the sword disappeared. When he came to his senses, he saw that the chains that had bound him for 8,000 years had all been severed by the sword. This unforeseen event left him dumbfounded. "You are free." Lin Ling sheathed his sword and calmly walked over. "I am free," the old man muttered to himself. The word freedom sounded simple, but to him, it was like an extravagant dream. He had never thought that he would be free one day. Most importantly, the people who saved him were actually 2 mysterious juniors. "You also broke the supreme treasure." Then, the old man said word by word, his face full of fear. "Don't block the way, time is running out." However, who would have thought that Lin Ling didn't mention that stunning sword strike? It was as if he didn't feel that it was something to be proud of. Instead, he said somewhat speechlessly. This made the old man smile bitterly and quickly stood up. However, perhaps because he hadn't stood up for a long time, he almost fell down. However, Sakura laughed and quickly helped the old man up. Although the senior had stopped them, he had repeatedly let them leave. This was also because he was worried about them. Moreover, this senior had also continuously taught them martial arts. This had left a good impression on Lin Ling and Li Chia. "I am the Reverend King. Young friends, although I will not stop the 2 of you, there is a spirit formation seal on this room. Only a world spiritist can break through it. Furthermore, even a gold-cloaked world spiritist might not be able to break through it." The old man was grateful to Lin Ling for cutting off the chains that bound him. Because of this, he also tried to persuade him. However, as soon as his voice fell, a rumbling sound came from ahead. Those ancient symbols were scattering. "How difficult is it? Now it's done." At the same time, an indifferent voice floated in the air. "Oh my God!" The old man's eyes almost popped out. One had to know that he had seen Lu Xingyan set up this barrier with his own eyes. It had taken him 3 years to set it up. But the little brat in front of him had broken it in the blink of an eye. Wasn't it said that breaking a spirit formation was more difficult than setting one up? Moreover, Lu Xingyan's spirit formation was said to have come from the heavenly court. It was taught by martial god Qilin in the post-deity era. There were very few people in the world who could break it. This little brat had easily broken the spirit formation. This made the old man suspect that this spirit formation was fake. He could not help but stare at Lin Ling. He wanted to see what Lin Ling's expression would be. However, Lin Ling's expression was very calm. It was as if breaking the spirit formation was as simple as drinking water. "Oh my God! Where did these two little brats come from? The old man almost fainted from shock. However, Lin Ling had already strode into the secret room. Although the spirit formation outside the secret room was more difficult than ascending to the heavens for others, it was a pity that Lin Ling could break it with a wave of his hand. This was because this spirit formation was taught to martial god Qilin by Li Xiaoyao. Unfortunately, after martial god Qilin taught it to Lu Xingyan, the spirit formation had changed. If martial god Qilin was here, Lin Ling would have slapped him 3 times. This spirit formation was too bad. It was a disgrace to Li Xiaoyao. After entering the secret room, Lin Ling's eyes lit up when he saw the treasures in the room. There were a lot of imperial crystals. Moreover, there were many supreme weapons. Lin Ling even saw the jade talismans that he had obtained in the 8 gods' heavenly palace. Of course, in addition to those jade talismans, there was also the Thunder Divine Grade Jade Talisman. It could erupt with the power of rank. It was extremely terrifying. However, it was a one-time use item. In fact, this kind of powerful jade talisman consumed a lot of materials. The real powerhouses disdained to use it. Generally, it was used by the weak, or by the sons of the ancient families to save their lives. Brother, collect all the jade talismans, Lin Ling said quickly. He found that there were more than 20 jade talismans. He thought that Lu Xingyan was reluctant to use them, so he kept them here. However, all of them benefited Lin Ling. Haha, second brother, I like this shield. After collecting the jade talismans, Sakura immediately picked up a white bone shield. This shield was extraordinary, and emitted a divine light. Second grade supreme weapon. It seems to be made from the bones of divine beasts. Lin Ling could not help but admire Sakura's foresight. Outside the secret room, the reverent king was dumbfounded as he looked at Lin Ling and Lu Xingyan. He suddenly felt sympathy for Lu Xingyan. He knew that Lu Xingyan would touch these treasures every day. He was reluctant to use them, and kept them as part of his collection. However, all of them were now benefiting these 2 brats. As second brother, what kind of flower is this? It's so beautiful. There are 7 different colored flowers on a single stalk of grass. Hehe, this is a rare great omen flower. Legend has it that it can bring good luck to people. Another function is to accelerate the breakthrough of the divine physique, and reach the desolate physique. Brother, pluck it and eat all of these flowers. Okay. Sakura laughed excitedly. 2 little ancestors, you can't pluck all of these flowers. Otherwise they will wither. We have to leave one behind. The reverent king felt an inexplicable heartache. It's fine. This flower loves the soil very much. After it grows here, it won't be able to grow in other places. It will wither sooner or later. Since we can't take it away, let's just pluck it. Lin Ling shook his head indifferently. The reverent king's eyes twitched. These 2 bandits. He could imagine that when Lu Xingyan returned and saw this scene, he would be so angry that he would vomit blood. This is a stone tablet. It's the dragon tablet. Lin Ling continued to collect treasures. Suddenly his eyes lit up. There was a broken stone tablet lying in the corner. His face was filled with joy. Lu Xingyan obtained this stone tablet in the ruins of the gods. He never saw its use. How do you know it's the dragon tablet? The reverent king exclaimed. What kind of foresight does Lu Xingyan have? How can he compare with me? Hearing this, Lin Ling laughed disdainfully. From a certain point of view, Lu Xingyan was just his grand disciple. The most precious thing in this secret chamber is this stone tablet. It's one of the 8 tablets of the Dragon Clan. It's a pity that it's broken. Lin Ling walked forward and activated his 10,000 mammoths' demonic eyes. He examined the stone tablet, and his expression became more and more interesting. Calamity-destroying bow, a divine ability of the Dragon Clan. Chi. The reverent king sucked in a breath of cold air. The dragon race was one of the most mysterious races in the primordial chaos. All of the dragon gods gathered there were dragon gods, and their divine abilities were priceless treasures. Young friend, you have the aura of a dragon god. I'm afraid you can also cultivate this divine ability. Chapter 30:16. Lu Xingyan had returned. However, Lin Ling didn't need him to say anything. His 10,000 mammoths' devil eyes were fixed on the stone steel as he divined. Because the stone tablet was damaged, It would take some time for Lin Ling to deduce its contents. Moreover, the ancient symbols on the surface of the stone tablet seemed to be motionless, but they were mixed with a mysterious melody, making it difficult for anyone to remember them with a single glance. Lin Ling's forehead was drenched in cold sweat. The 10,000 mammoth demonic eyes had always been heaven-defying, but now it was being challenged. Most importantly, he didn't have much time left. Young friend, the sky is starting to brighten. The Reverend King's expression grew increasingly grave. Sakura had already collected all the treasures, and was now waiting for Lin Ling. Wait a little longer. Why don't you leave first, Reverend King? After all, you're free now. Hee. My family has been destroyed by Lu Xingyan, and I've been trapped for 8,000 years. I don't know where to go now, so I'll help you if I can. Thank you, Reverend King. That won't be necessary. On the other hand, your friend needs to speed up. The two of them were burning with anxiety. If Lu Xingyan, a half-saint, returned, it would be a tough battle. With their current strength, they could not stop Lu Xingyan. The purple light is here. I think Lu Xingyan has returned to the city. After an unknown period of time, the Reverend King finally left the secret chamber and looked into the distance. Come on. At the same time, a voice rang out from behind him. Lin Ling walked out of the private chamber, looking a bit tired. He smiled. The Reverend King couldn't help but be delighted. You succeeded. Let's get out of here. Lin Ling decided not to mention the stone tablet for the time being. Then he left the mansion without stopping. The mansion was silent and filled with the smell of blood. When the three of them walked out of the mansion, they were greeted by a large number of strong warriors. The leader was majestic and had an extraordinary momentum. He was Lu Xingyan. They had spent the entire night searching for Lin Ling and his companion, but unfortunately, their search was fruitless. Now, they had returned to rest temporarily. Lin Ling and the other two swaggered past Lu Xingyan, which made Lu Xingyan frown slightly. The three people who walked past him gave him a very strange feeling. However, among the three people, two were wearing large cloaks, and one was wearing a blue and white robe. He couldn't remember who they were. In the end, because he missed his daughter, he quickened his pace and returned to the Lu family. Hee, that must be Lu Xingyan. When he comes home, I wonder if he will be surprised by the gift we gave him. Within the bustling crowd, Lin Ling and the other two had already blended in quickly. Sakura turned around to take a look, and couldn't help but laugh mischievously. I don't think they'll be surprised. Instead, they'll remember us as cockroaches forever. Lin Ling also smiled faintly. The Reverend King followed Lin Ling and his companion. Previously, when Lu Xingyan looked at them, he was afraid of being discovered, so he was very nervous. However, he noticed that Lin Ling and his companion were calm, even calmer than him. This made him feel a little ashamed. These two guys must have done a lot of earth-shattering things, so they could be so calm. However, although Lin Ling and his companion were calm, they knew that they couldn't stay here for long, so they also strode out of Dragon Tooth City. At this moment, Lu Xingyan had already arrived at the gate of the mansion. How dare you? Our lord is back, and you don't even salute him. Master, the expert next to Lu Xingyan suddenly shouted angrily, because the guards outside the gate were motionless like statues. Oh no, they're all dead. Lu Xingyan looked at the few people indifferently. Suddenly he frowned slightly. He instantly found that there was something wrong with the guards. What? The other experts' faces changed greatly. Someone dared to kill the guards of the Lu family. This was beyond their imagination. Let's go in and have a look. Lu Xingyan felt that something was wrong, and he quickly strode into the mansion. The mansion was silent, so silent that it made people's hearts palpitate. The experts who followed Lu Xingyan all looked dignified. They had been in the Lu family for many years, but this was the first time they saw the Lu family so quiet. Follow me. Lu Xingyan's face became even more dignified, like a dark cloud shrouding the place. As they continued forward, they saw the corpses on the ground, and the blood flowed like a river. Who is so bold? Seeing this, one of the old men couldn't help but shout angrily, because the people who stayed in the Lu family were all dead. This was a direct provocation to the Lu family. However, Lu Xingyan didn't care about the dead people. His pace kept increasing, and his heart began to roar. All kinds of thoughts arose in his mind. Could it be that the intruder knew that he wasn't at home, so they did whatever they wanted in his house? Moreover, he hoped that the treasures were fine. However, those treasures were guarded by the reverent king, and with the enchantment that Lu Xingyan had set up, the treasures should be fine. As he walked quickly, Lu Xingyan quietly smiled. It turned out that he was worried for nothing. However, when he reached the east wing, that smile froze on his face, because the huge bronze secret room's door was now open, and it was violently opened. There were broken chains on the ground, and the reverent king was nowhere to be seen. No! Lu Xingyan roared, and rushed into the secret room like the wind. However, the empty secret room stunned him, because all the treasures were gone. Only 2 treasures were left. One was the supreme giant flower, but it had withered. The other was the mysterious stone tablet, but it was now broken. Puff! Lu Xingyan spat out a mouthful of blood, and it splashed on the bronze wall like a bright flower. Sir! The other experts also arrived, and when they saw the scene in front of them, they all gasped in surprise. Gone! Everything was gone! What kind of monster was this? Even the supreme giant flower was not spared. This person was too despicable. For a moment the experts fell silent. They knew that Sir Lu treated the treasures in the secret room as second to his life. Now that his reverse scale had been plucked, they could imagine how Sir Lu felt. Who is it? Could it be the reverent king? It can't be him, because he can't break the enchantment of the bronze secret room. Which bastard dares to rob our Lu residence when Sir Lu is not here? The experts discussed animatedly. Lu Xingyan's mouth was overflowing with blood, and his mind was filled with anger. How many years had it been since he became martial god Qilin's last disciple? This was the first time he had suffered such a great loss. Who is it? He calmed down and kept thinking. Suddenly, his pupils trembled violently. It's them, he said solemnly. His words made the experts stop talking and look at Lu Xingyan. They also wanted to know who had humiliated Sir Lu. It's those 2 young men. Lu Xingyan was indeed the head of the Heavenly Court's branch. After thinking carefully, he already had a guess. In Dragon Tooth City, even the 100 Lane clan did not dare to provoke him. Only those 2 people dared to, and they were the cockroaches he had mentioned. Chapter 30:17. The sage-to-be was furious. My lord, it's impossible. Shouldn't they have escaped from Dragon Tooth City? Someone asked incredulously. Those 2 had already guessed our thoughts and knew that we would definitely go out of the city to plunder. Therefore, they had been hiding in the city and used our departure as an excuse to turn our nest upside down. They even purposely let out news to make us think that they had escaped from Dragon Tooth City. Lu Xingyan said word by word. After hearing his explanation, the experts gasped again. The 2 young men were really terrifying. They knew their every move. No, it should be said that they were toyed with in the palm of their hands. Oh no, Xian. Lu Xingyan suddenly thought of something and his face changed again. There were only 3 most precious things in his life. The first was his master, martial god Qilin. The second was the bronze secret room. And the last was Lu Xian. Miss. Everyone came to their senses and rushed to Lu Xian's residence. They kept shouting in their hearts. Miss must be fine. Otherwise, they did not know how angry Lu Xingyan would be. When they arrived at Lu Xian's residence, they were disappointed by what they saw, because there wasn't a single person here. Lu Xian had disappeared. My lord, look at these words. Suddenly someone exclaimed, causing Lu Xingyan to take a step forward. He arrived in front of the words written in blood, but it was still a shocking sight. Lu Xian's whereabouts were written in the words. She was dead. Most importantly, she had been thrown to the dogs. A dignified half-saint expert's daughter had been thrown to the dogs. This caused everyone to be flabbergasted. Xian. Lu Xingyan roared, and rushed to the ancient well outside the hall. He immediately saw the body under the ancient well. It was being bitten by 3 vicious dogs. Judging from the clothes, it was undoubtedly Lu Xian. What a sin! The others also arrived at the ancient well. Their hearts were still trembling. Lu Xian had caught many people to feed the dogs over the years. Now, she had also ended up being fed to the dogs. Such an encounter was undoubtedly a huge blow to Lu Xingyan. I'm going to kill them. Lu Xingyan was stunned at the edge of the ancient well. Then, blood spurted out of his mouth, as if it was free of charge. He went crazy. He had lost 2 of the 3 most precious things in his life. Sir, please calm down. It was the first time for everyone to see Lu Xingyan so angry. However, everyone's persuasion was obviously useless. Lu Xingyan let out a roar that shook Dragon-Tooth City. Everyone in Dragon-Tooth City was like cicadas in winter. The wrath of a half-saint almost made them kneel down. Boom! Then, the ground cracked open, and a figure shot up into the sky, rushing towards the direction of the ancient forest. By the way, there were 3 people who brushed past us earlier. At that time, I felt that one of them was very familiar. He seemed to have the aura of the Reverend King, but I didn't think too much about it at the time. Could it be that he was one of those 3? A cold-looking man suddenly said. Hearing this, everyone nodded. Then their eyes turned red with anger. It turned out that the murderer had walked right past them, and they hadn't noticed him at all. They were so stupid. Chase! Then, the crowd rushed out of Dragon-Tooth City one after another. A large number of powerhouses were dispatched, which also led to a drastic change in Dragon-Tooth City. At this moment, Lin Ling and the other 2 were rushing through the ancient forest, startling the birds. However, at this moment, Lin Ling looked back, and his face suddenly turned cold. He said lightly, "This Lu Xingyan is indeed a half-saint powerhouse. He really has some tricks up his sleeve. He noticed us in such a short time." Hearing this, the faces of Sakura and the Reverend King changed greatly. A half-saint powerhouse had arrived? Die! In just a moment, the clouds above the sky were separated. Like the sound of Buddha, a rolling momentum forcibly swept through the ancient forest, rushing towards Lin Ling. Leave quickly. The Reverend King knew how terrifying Lu Xingyan's strength was, so he said anxiously, "It's too late." However, Lin Ling didn't leave. He stood quietly on the ground, because he knew it was too late to leave now. Sure enough, dark clouds began to condense in the sky. Then the dark clouds exploded, and thunder rumbled, bombarding the earth. A gentle middle-aged man appeared in the sky. He looked down at the 3 people on the ground like a saint, and the murderous intent in his eyes was revealed without any concealment. "You 2 cockroaches. You killed my daughter and robbed my Lu family. I'm going to tear off all your limbs and turn you into my dolls." The loud voice, with malice and ferocity, spread throughout the ancient forest. In a distant place, the warriors of Dragon-Tooth City looked into the distance. They seemed to have guessed something, and they were all terrified. Those 2 young men were really bold. "Lu Xingyan, your daughter is vicious. She killed people and fed them to the dogs. Now we are just returning what she did to her." Kill! Seeing Lu Xingyan, the Reverend King's eyes flashed with murderous intent. He and Lu Xingyan had been holding back for many years, but this time, he couldn't bear it anymore. "Old man, get out of my way!" Roar! Lu Xingyan roared ferociously. His right hand pulled behind his back, and the wind and clouds were pulled by him, forming a huge lightning halberd, and throwing it at the Reverend King. Rumble! As soon as the lightning halberd was thrown, its rank power reached 30%. The vast forest instantly exploded, turning into ashes. The Reverend King's face changed greatly. He also urged his rank power to resist the lightning halberd. Then, with a rumbling sound, the Reverend King on the ground temporarily blocked the lightning halberd. But he immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. This resistance was obviously only temporary. "Lu Xingyan, you can't do whatever you want." Roar! Seeing this, Sakura roared. He knew that he was no match for Lu Xingyan, so he activated the bone shield he got from the secret room. At the same time, his right hand waved out 3 jade talismans. As soon as the jade talismans appeared, a mysterious power bloomed. Wind, fire, and mountains appeared, all of which were rank powers. It was like a god had arrived, protecting the Reverend King from the lightning halberd in the sky. Rumble! With the addition of the new power, the pressure on the Reverend King's defense was greatly reduced. Undoubtedly, Lu Xingyan was once again roaring with anger, because he had spent countless efforts to obtain those jade talismans. He was reluctant to use them, and even his daughter did not leave a few for her. But now they were all taken advantage of by these bastards. Go to hell. His big hand was like the chaos of the universe. It ruthlessly pressed down, and the rank power of the 3 jade talismans was destroyed as easily as tofu. Boom! Chapter 30:18. Forcefully resisting a half-saint. The half-saint realm was indeed terrifying. At the same time, the powerhouses of the Lu clan arrived one after another. They surrounded the area with bloodshot eyes, as if they were determined to kill Lin Ling, and the other two. For a moment, Lin Ling and the other two were unable to escape even if they grew wings. What's your name? Lu Xingyan said as he looked at Lin Ling with a sinister gaze. He noticed that after his arrival, the blue-robed young man's expression had not changed at all. He was neither panicked nor nervous, and he did not even try to help the reverent king and King Mu. Such an expression made him even more uncomfortable. Of course, this also made Lu Xingyan feel quite surprised. Such a calm junior, no wonder they were all fooled. Lin Ling. At this moment, Lin Ling raised his head and said indifferently, "Why did you kill my daughter? Why did you rob my Lu family?" Lu Xingyan said word by word. He had 100 questions in his mind. With the young man's cultivation, he really shouldn't have provoked the Lu family. Anyone with a brain wouldn't have done that. Your daughter killed us first, Lin Ling said calmly. She wants to kill you, so you should be killed by her. Who told you to resist? Lu Xingyan's eyes were full of cold light. He as expected, a crooked stick will have a crooked shadow. Like father, like daughter. But what surprised me is that you really dote on your daughter. Wasn't your daughter born from the union between you and an animal? Hearing this, the sneer on the corner of Lin Ling's mouth became even thicker, and his mocking voice floated out. This brat is about to die, yet he still dares to spout such nonsense. Hearing the mocking words, the warriors of the Lu family all turned pale. They all looked at Lu Xingyan. Sure enough, the murderous intent on his face had reached its peak. Little bastard, I'm going to tear your mouth apart. Lu Xingyan laughed. It was a crazy laugh. This was also the first time in his life that he had felt killing intent toward a martial immortal level person of the younger generation. Furthermore, it was an intense killing intent. Thunder come. He raised his right arm high, and rolling realm essence rushed out, forming a thunder cloud in his palm. Mixed with an incomparably violent power, he slapped it fiercely toward Lin Ling. His talent was the rare thundercloud talent, known as the Supreme Thundercloud Gathering Talent. His master had found it in a godly ruin, and gifted it to him. According to legend, it was the Thunder God's art technique art. Lu Xingyan, an emperor by Lu. Lu Xingyan, Shengyan, 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 Shengyan realm. Shengyan Shengyan, Shengyan Shengyan, Shengyan Shengen Genjian Shengyan. When he was he, Sheng then he Shengyan. Shengling sh Shengyan to Shengto Shengyan. Time and space divine steel, realm devouring beast, dragon god, for elements fusion. Lin Ling spoke in a low voice. His aura climbed higher and higher. The body of a fiend god descended, a giant mouth appeared, a dragon god roared, causing the ancient forest and 10,000 dragons to tremble. At this moment, a vast amount of world essence, in addition to the power of the universe, crazily condensed on his fist, causing him to shoot up into the sky like an arrow. All kinds of illusions appeared, causing the reverent king's expression to change greatly. When this guy fought me, he obviously did not use 120% of his strength. Rumble. At this moment, the huge thunder cloud palm in the sky smashed down, and the earth god demon fist soared into the sky. In addition to the suppression of the time and space divine steel, it caused the ancient forest to tumble. A large number of huge trees, that several people could wrap their arms around, were tumbling in the sky at this moment. In the distance, the warriors of the Dragon-Tooth City, who came to watch, were all flipped over. The weak ones even vomited blood, and their expressions changed greatly. Boom! A deafening sound rang out. Lin Ling's body was constantly pushed back by the enormous force, and his body was constantly being destroyed. However, his god demon body was constantly healing his injuries. It was only when he was completely smashed into the ground that the destructive force disappeared. A huge hole thousands of miles wide appeared in the ground. Beside the huge hole, thunder and lightning roared like snakes, sealing the hole. "He's dead," many people said with serious expressions. The anger of a half-saint was indeed terrifying. Haha, is this all there is to a half-saint? However, in the next moment, a figure shot out from the huge hole like a javelin. He ignored the thunder and lightning around him and looked indifferently at Lu Xingyan in the sky. This unforeseen event shocked all the warriors of the Dragon-Tooth City. A martial immortal had actually blocked the attack of a half-saint? That was too heaven-defying. Heavens, his defense is even more terrifying than I imagined. The Reverend King was also dumbfounded. In his opinion, after Lu Xingyan arrived, the three of them would be powerless to resist. However, who would have thought that the most mysterious young man would actually block Lu Xingyan's attack? It had to be said that this was an earth-shattering pride. Lu Xingyan didn't use his true strength. Moreover, although my second brother's defense is strong, it won't last long. In contrast to the Reverend King's shock, Sakura said with a serious expression. In fact, Lin Ling also knew this. At present, he was still no match for a half-saint. However, the arrow was already knocked on the bow, and it had to be released. "Old man, do you know why I'm targeting you? First, your daughter wants to kill me. Second, you're from the heavenly court." Lin Ling floated up. His robe fluttered, and his long hair danced wildly like a demon. "Bastard, I'll tear you apart alive." Lu Xingyan was also surprised by Lin Ling's strength. It could be said that he had seen countless mid-martial immortals. However, Lin Ling had surprised him the most. Without a doubt, Lin Ling was definitely a peerless genius. However, the hatred of his daughter's death was absolutely irreconcilable. Therefore, no matter what, this Lin Ling had to die. He absolutely had to die. "Tear me apart alive? You're not qualified. Your master is still a little qualified. However, it won't be long before your master becomes a ghost under my sword." Lin Ling sneered. His hands began to form complicated seals. An ancient aura began to spread out. It was like a barrier that sealed the entire ancient forest. Once this aura was released, everyone was shocked. People felt a strong pressure. It was as if they were seeing the arrival of an ancient god. Even Lu Xingyan's expression changed slightly. This cockroach's methods were really endless. Even with his experience, he couldn't see what the young man was using. "I see that the people of this world are walking on the boundless earth. They don't know what's going on. 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 Even if they have 1,000 gene of gold, they don't know the poverty of the forest." A faintly discernible voice floated out from Lin Ling's mouth. It was like the sound of a Buddhist bell. It entered everyone's ears and gave them a sense of eternal holiness. "What is this?" The Reverend King's expression changed greatly. The Lin Ling before him gave him a feeling that he was sacred and inviolable. Dragon Clan 8 Stone Steel. Chapter 30:19. God Shooting Dragon Bow. Could it be that stone tablet? That's impossible, right? He just finished reading the stone tablet not long ago, and now he's learned it? Hearing this, the Reverend King's eyes filled with terror. What kind of monstrous comprehension ability was this? They knew the origin of Lin Ling's incantation, but Lu Xingyan didn't know. He only had a feeling that the young man at this moment seemed to have turned into a guardian dragon god. His master's words suddenly came to mind. In the chaos of the universe, the dragon race had 8 divisions. Among them were the Buddha, the dragon god, and the dragon god. They were extremely terrifying existences. Why does this brat have such a divine ability? Thinking of this, Lu Xingyan's face changed greatly. He didn't dare to delay any longer. He immediately urged his powerful realm essence, wanting to completely kill Lin Ling before Lin Ling's divine ability was formed. In truth, he didn't know how powerful the spell would be once it was formed. However, he had an intuition that its power was absolutely not to be underestimated. At this moment, the halberd of thunder appeared, accompanied by the sound of thunder. It destroyed everything in its path. Most likely, no martial immortal expert would be able to block those lightning halberds. The 8 tribe stone steels of the dragon clan must have the dragon bone, dragon blood, and dragon soul as the foundation. With the dragon bone, I am the dragon god of freedom. Lin Ling muttered to himself. He could feel the bones in his body emitting cracking sounds. Strands of mysterious energy swam out and poured into his left palm. He had never seen this mysterious power before, but he knew that it was very strong. However, it seemed that Lu Xingyan did not intend to let Lin Ling use this kind of power. Therefore, his right hand touched the scabbard, and his essence quietly poured into the tyrannical Song sword. However, what left Lin Ling surprised was that even though the dragon bone's strength was isolated, it still poured into his left hand, causing it to become as warm and smooth as jade. As expected of the Dragon Clan's 8-division stone tablet, it's fighting with the scabbard for the power of the dragon bone, and even the scabbard can't beat it. Lin Ling thought to himself as he raised his head. The lightning halberd in the sky had already arrived. Its power was so strong that it could probably crush the entire Qing province into pieces. Sword. There was no time to lose. Lin Ling drew his sword. He had to grasp this final moment. The headless elder instantly appeared behind him. Demonic energy surged as if he was going to slaughter the world. What is this? Lin Ling's means had undoubtedly surprised Lu Xingyan once again. This was because he realized that apart from the divine ability that Lin Ling was using, even his sword gave him a feeling that he could not underestimate it. At this moment, the sword appeared, sparkling and resplendent. A sword light slashed towards the sky, causing time to seem to freeze. Boom! Boom! In the next moment, all the lightning halberds froze in place before exploding and falling to the ground. Good heavens! This guy is a monster! Seeing this, whether it was the martial artists in the distance or nearby, they were all shocked. To them, the number of geniuses from the 9 prefectures that they had seen wasn't many. However, they had always thought that it was just an undeserved reputation. But now, they felt that the geniuses of the 9 prefectures were nothing more than this. What kind of sword is this? Lu Xingyan was also greatly shocked. If a middle-stage martial celestial was so powerful, it was hard to imagine that he, a sage to be, would be killed by the sword if he reached the late-stage martial celestial. Thinking of this, Lu Xingyan finally felt a touch of fear. He knew that such a guy could not be allowed to live. Although Lin Ling's sword had surprised him, he was still confident that if they were to fight to the death, Lin Ling would not be his opponent. However, just as he was thinking about this, a sudden change occurred in front of him. Dragon God, Sky of Freedom, calamity-destroying Sunbow. Lin Ling's left hand turned into a jade-like hand. He gently pulled at the air, and a dragon's roar could be heard. A mysterious power was as dazzling as a meteor, gradually forming a 2-meter-long giant bow. This bow was made of dragon bones. On both sides of the bow were dragon heads. It was majestic, and had the power to protect the Buddha and kill all ghosts and demons. Most importantly, Lin Ling began to hold the bow. Although his left arm was trembling, the bow was slowly drawn. An indescribably terrifying power quietly bloomed in the ancient forest. It shocked the world and made ghosts and gods weep. Oh no, it's the dragon god. Seeing this, Lu Xingyan panicked, because he saw that Lin Ling's arrow was actually a dragon. Most importantly, that bow and that arrow gave him an enormous amount of pressure. It was a god shooter bow. He can only use this bow once. Therefore, I have to avoid it. Lu Xingyan did not care about killing Lin Ling. At this moment, he only wanted to dodge the bow. Therefore, his body exploded, turned into endless thunder clouds and flew away. The sage-to-be expert ran away. Such a change undoubtedly made people feel that it was unreal. One must know that when Lu Xingyan arrived, they all thought that the 3 cockroaches would definitely die. However, as the battle continued, the blue-robed young man became more and more courageous. He even used the god shooter bow to force Lu Xingyan to flee. This is the first time I've seen a sage-to-be running away. The reverent king stared intently at the sky as he solemnly spat out a sentence. Next to him, Sakura was extremely excited. He did not expect Lin Ling to have such means. However, at this moment, Lin Ling's forehead was full of cold sweat. The bow was difficult to draw. He could not control it. Lu Xingyan, where do you think you're going? Lin Ling did not intend to fully draw the bow. He finally decided to shoot the arrow. As soon as the arrow was shot, the world changed color. Countless dragon gods seemed to have arrived, wandering in the sky and roaring. Whoosh! The arrow was shot. It chased after Lu Xingyun at the speed of 100 worlds. The fatal killing intent made Lu Xingyun panic more and more. "You're Lin Ling, right? From now on, let's shake hands and make peace." He even said anxiously. He was afraid that he would be killed by the arrow. Moreover, he wanted to run away, but he found that he was locked on by the arrow. There was no door in the sky and no way out on the ground. He knew that he was doomed. He never thought that he would die in the hands of a martial celestial junior. Whoosh! However, when he thought that he was going to die, the fatal arrow passed through his cheek and took away a strand of his hair. He was stunned on the spot. Rumble! The dragon god's arrow passed through the dragon-toothed city and directly penetrated the huge ancient city. Then, it disappeared into the distance. This unforeseen event caused everyone to be shocked and terrified. They were surprised because Lu Xingyun was not dead. They were terrified because the power of the arrow was too terrifying. Damn it! I really can't control this bow. At this moment, Lin Ling was also stunned. He looked into the distance helplessly, because although he could barely control the arrow was not accurate. This meant that he failed to use the Great Solar Calamity bow for the first time. Otherwise, he believed that the arrow could really kill Lu Xingyun. At this moment, Lu Xingyun was still floating in the sky. It was as if he had walked around the gate of the underworld. His face was extremely pale, and his body was still trembling. Chapter 30:20. Retreat unscathed. Looking at Lin Ling in the distance, he was still scared. He didn't dare to rush forward to kill Lin Ling. He was afraid that Lin Ling would suddenly shoot another arrow at him. At that time, he wouldn't be able to escape. Lord Lu, this person should have reached his limit. If we don't kill him now, there will be endless trouble in the future. At that moment, a roar suddenly came from the distance. Bailey Yixiong was also attracted by the shocking battle here. Of course, his heart was also rumbling. He never thought that the young man he met in the past would have such a trump card. That's right. He's only a martial immortal. He can't use such an arrow a second time. With the addition of Bailey Yixiong, Lu Xingyun's courage increased a lot. He followed Bailey Yixiong and led the experts of Dragon-Tooth City towards Lin Ling. Sigh, that guy is still a bit lacking. Seeing that the outcome had been decided, the onlooking cultivators all shook their heads. However, even though they thought that Lin Ling was definitely going to die, they still felt that Lin Ling had broadened their horizons. He had let them know that a martial immortal could also contend against a sage-to-be. Second brother, what should we do? Seeing the experts that blotted out the sky and covered the earth, Sakura's face became extremely ugly. Lin Ling shook his head. At that moment, he was completely exhausted. Likely, even an ordinary martial immortal would be able to kill him, let alone two half-sages. It seems that we've failed at the last step. King Mu shook his head and sighed. However, he didn't run away. Instead, he walked towards Lin Ling in the sky. He planned to die together with Lin Ling. Lin Ling, we're here. However, when Lin Ling and the others thought that the situation was settled, the forest in the distance suddenly started to move. A large number of powerful auras also arrived. The person in the lead was the fastest. He brought the demon god's tomb and swept away the cultivators of Dragon-Tooth City. Everywhere he passed, there was a rain of blood. No one below the peak of the martial immortal realm could stop him. Meng Lu, you're still alive. Seeing the vigorous young man, Sakura couldn't help but be overjoyed. Haha, I won't die so easily. The white-haired young man roared. What was terrifying was that there were a lot of experts following behind him. They were actually the Uzumaki clan of the Milky Way. Moreover, some of the ancient tribes in the ancient forest had also arrived at this moment. Such a change undoubtedly infuriated Lu Xingyun and the others. The Uzumaki clan in the Milky Way, the three major clans in the ancient forest, all of these are their biggest threats. However, these clans were scattered and had never been united. This caused Lu Xingyun and the others to look down on them. But now, these races from the era of gods had come together, and it would be difficult for them to take advantage of them. Bailey Yixiong, After the patriarch of the Uzumaki clan arrived, he was the first to roar. What made Bailey Ishiong furious is that he sensed the power of boundary essence from the old man. One must know that the patriarch of the Uzumaki clan has always been a headache for Kuroto. The reason is that the patriarch of the Uzumaki clan has always been a headache for Kuroto. But now these ancient races even had boundary essence. This was obviously extremely disadvantageous for them. Senpai, let's not fight today. However, just when the Uzumaki clan's experts were about to go all out, Lin Ling said indifferently, if we continue to fight, we will suffer great losses. Although they will inevitably be destroyed, we will definitely not be any better. Why are you afraid of them? Hearing this, a 2-meter-tall man from another clan roared. He had thick long hair all over his body, as if he was from the Divine Bear clan. Obviously, this was the first time he saw Lin Ling, so he didn't think that Lin Ling, a junior, could command them. Listen to him, it's absolutely right. However, the patriarch of the Uzumaki clan immediately said, which made the Longevity Bear clan stunned. The burly man frowned and asked, are you sure? Yes, his words represent the Uzumaki clan's words. So if you want to go all out, then go all out. But without our Uzumaki clan, you can't win. The old man immediately said, okay, retreat today. The burly man pondered for a moment and nodded. Damn it, bastard. Looking at Lin Ling being protected by several clans, and then safely leaving, Bailey Ishiong and his wife were furious. After all, their son and daughter had both died at the hands of those two young men. But now there was nothing they could do. They could only watch as the murderers left. However, they didn't dare to fight with their lives on the line. Everything was as Lin Ling had said. They didn't want to see an ending like this, where they killed 1,000 of their enemies and suffered 800 of their own. Lin Ling, under the protection of many powerhouses, was now floating away, but he sneered and said lightly, Lu Xingyun, watch out for my arrow. What? This sentence was like a taboo, which made Lu Xingyun's face change greatly. He ignored everyone and immediately fled toward the direction of Dragon Tooth City. But after running for a few seconds, he suddenly reacted and looked back. There was no arrow behind him. He was obviously deceived. Little beast. Lu Xingyun was stunned in the sky. His face was incomparably ferocious. In fact, he was like a frightened bird at the moment. Who the hell are these three guys? They made us suffer again and again, and they can even threaten a half-saint. They are the strongest in the world. Bailey Ishiong also felt ashamed of Lu Xingyun, but he was more resentful as he looked into the distance. Lin Ling, Lin Ling. Lu Xingyun's eyes were cold. He knew that he had to ask the powerhouses of the Heavenly Court to fight. Go back. When the powerhouses of the Heavenly Court arrive, all of them will be killed. Suppressing the anger in his heart, Lu Xingyun walked toward Dragon Tooth City. It was not until the two major forces disappeared that the warriors of Dragon Tooth City began to talk and exclaim. They never expected that the three young men who were hunted down a year ago had grown to such a level. Not only were they not afraid of Lu Xingyun and his wife, but they also escaped unscathed. Especially the god-shooting dragon Bao. They would never forget the horror of that arrow for the rest of their lives. Lin Ling followed the Uzumaki clan and took the lead to return to the Heavenly River. After arriving here, Sakura could finally relax. This was the territory of the Uzumaki clan. Even if Lu Xingyun came here, he would definitely die here. TSK, these two little friends are really fierce. With just the two of them, they stirred up a bloody storm in Dragon Tooth City. This is dancing in the tiger's mouth. The patriarch of the Uzumaki clan seemed to know what Lin Ling had done, and could not help but admire him. Old Uzumaki, who are they? The patriarchs of several other clans frowned and looked at Lin Ling. In their view, they were just martial immortals. What qualifications did they have to call them? Humph, don't underestimate them. What they did is something you can't do in your lifetime. The old man immediately disdained. Yo, they make themselves sound so powerful. Could it be that they are gods? Chapter 30-21. Secluded Cultivation. Seeing this, the patriarch of the Uzumaki clan sneered, and immediately spoke of Lin Ling's pioneering work in the Dragon Tooth City. Every time he said a word, The faces of the patriarchs changed greatly. Two people. Then, under the eyes of Lu Xingyan, such a monstrous wave rose. They were dancing in the enemy's lair. Admirable, this old man is admirable. I'm also convinced. If it were our entire race, I'm afraid we wouldn't be able to achieve what the two of you have. Haha, Bailey Yixiong's precious son is dead. And Lu Xingyan's ugly mate is also dead. Good, good. Voices of admiration immediately rang out. Everyone was in awe of Lin Ling and Lin Feng. Don't be too complacent. Lu Xingyan suffered a loss this time, so he will definitely invite the experts of the heavenly court. At that time, if we don't improve our strength, we will be uprooted. However, Lin Ling did not have any pride. Instead, he said seriously, Heavenly Court? This is a terrifying existence. What should we do now? The leaders of the major clans all looked at Lin Ling. In their opinion, Lin Ling was a peerless genius. Since he could fight against Lu Xingyan, he could definitely lead them to victory. Lin Ling smiled. He was in the same boat as these races, so he didn't hide his needs. I need time. Just give me 1 year, and I'll be able to break through to the next realm. Then I'll solve everything. It could be said that he had reaped a great harvest. Since he did not lack cultivation resources, as long as he was given some time, he would not be afraid of Lu Xingyan and the others. A year? All right, before you break through, we will protect you. The patriarch of the Uzumaki clan suddenly threw caution to the wind. They had been fighting with Lu Xingyan for many years, but they had never been able to defeat him. But Lin Ling had only been here for a short time. But he had already created so many miracles. Therefore, he bet on Lin Ling's future. All right, we'll protect you. The other clans nodded as well. To them, a year was not a long time at all. Thank you. When I come out, I'll take care of everything. Lin Ling nodded solemnly. His eyes were also filled with battle intent. He had to start the first battle to take revenge on the heavenly court. By the way, what clan are you from? Since they had decided to cooperate, Lin Ling also wanted to be more familiar with these allies. We are from the Longevity Bear race. The tall and sturdy man laughed and said. His body was covered with thick brown hair, making him look like he was wearing a fur coat. However, in other aspects he was the same as a human. Longevity Bear race? Lin Ling pondered for a moment, and guessed the origin of this race. He smiled and said, one of the 100 great bloodlines, the Mighty God bloodline. Mighty God bloodline? Are we the descendants of the gods? The burly man was stunned. In fact, they were just a branch clan. They had lived in the Dragon Tongue Fong for a long time, so they were not familiar with their origins. Yes, the legendary Mighty God can be traced back to Quafu. Quafu once chased after the sun and traveled across the universe. You all have one of Quafu's bloodlines. So we have such a great background. It seems like we are also the descendants of the gods. The man looked at his clan members and could not help but laugh excitedly. Lin Ling looked at the other two races. One of the races had wolf ears, dark skin, and extremely long arms. They carried bows made of tree branches on their backs and stood like javelins. However, Lin Ling could see that although the bows and arrows looked ordinary, they contained power that could not be underestimated. Moreover, only this tribe could unleash the power of such bows and arrows. She an explosive leafwood, Lin Ling said with a smile. His words surprised the tribe, because their bows were also passed down from their ancestors. Outsiders had no idea where the bows were made, but Lin Ling had pointed out the origin of the bows and arrows without any hesitation. You all should be the Bao God's bloodline, which is also one of the 100 great bloodlines. Little friend Lin Ling, your insight is beyond our imagination. We are different from the Longevity Bear race. We know our origin. We are the Vermilion Deer race, and are close friends with the Flying Wild Goose race. We have the Bao God's bloodline, which is also one of the 100 great bloodlines. A tall middle-aged man said with a smile. He looked extremely calm. Lin Ling nodded and looked at the other bloodline. This bloodline was extremely short and ugly, but they looked extremely tall and sturdy. At this time, Lin Ling did not know the origin of this race. We are not a descendant of the 100 great bloodlines. We are the ugly elephant race. We are good at barriers and digging holes. Seeing that Lin Ling was puzzled, one of them said with a smile. Yes, You must know that the Uzumaki race can hide in the heavenly river. But we are not good at water. We rely on the ugly elephant race to dig holes. By digging holes, we have repeatedly escaped the pursuit of Bailey Ishiong and the others. The vermilion deer race person immediately said, "It seems that you all have your own skills. Well then, I will rely on you for the next year." After familiarizing himself with the major races, Lin Ling's heart was relaxed a lot. Don't worry this year. We will be able to hold on no matter what. The people of the major races patted their chests and said, "Well, I will go into seclusion now." Lin Ling nodded and left, looking for a place to cultivate in seclusion. Of course, when he left, he also gave a large number of cultivation resources to his big brother and Meng Lu, so that they could improve their strength in a year. A year is just a blink of an eye for us. Our strength won't improve much. But geniuses are different. They can change so much in a year. Geniuses are the kind of people that make people envious. Looking at Lin Ling and the other two leaving, the major races sighed and said, Lin Ling and the others cultivated separately. He did not choose to cultivate in the heavenly river. Instead, he found an ordinary mountain range in the ancient forest, then dug a hole and hid in the mountain to cultivate. In the cave, Lin Ling's eyes flickered like stars. After his rebirth, his greatest goal was to kill his enemies with his own hands. And today, he was getting closer and closer to his revenge. With my current trump cards, I can defeat experts at the peak of the martial immortal realm. But it will be difficult for me to defeat a sage to be. The most important thing now is to break through to the next realm. Lin Ling analyzed, then took out the Emperor Crystal that Bailey Ishiong extorted, and immediately refined it. First, he had to raise his Dantian, which was the highest realm. Rumble. With enough cultivation resources, Lin Ling's Dantian surged and the realm sea roared. After an unknown period of time, when all the Emperor Crystals were consumed, Lin Ling's cultivation reached the 5th level of the martial immortal realm. Following this, he began to refine the treasures he had obtained from the bronze secret chamber. It would be a waste to refine these treasures just like that. But at this moment, Lin Ling could not care less. His other 3 Dantians surged. What was terrifying was that he was cultivating 3 Dantians at the same time. Chapter 30-22. An expert had arrived. However, Lin Ling was too impatient. The weakest lightning-type Dantian was unable to bear the burden and finally collapsed. Damn it, Lin Ling cursed. When one was unlucky, even water would be burnt between one's teeth. Among his 4 Dantians, the realm-devouring beast, the space-time fire, the dragon Dantian, and the thunder Dantian. The thunder Dantian was the weakest, so it was not strange that it collapsed. It could only be said that the path of cultivation was not smooth sailing. Even though Lin Ling had recultivated in 2 lives, there would still be accidents. However, Lin Ling's state of mind was also extremely calm. He glanced at the remaining treasures, gritted his teeth, and crazily piled up his Dantian again. Rumble. As time passed, the collapsed Dantian was reborn, and he began to cultivate from the beginning. Lin Ling was already familiar with this, because whether it was in his previous life or this life, he had the experience of recultivating many times. In the 9 provinces, he was probably the first person to recultivate. However, accidents happened again, and the setbacks did not lessen. The 4th Dantian collapsed again. Fuck. Lin Ling was tongue-tied, and his face became abnormally ugly. Looking at the other 3 Dantians, they had all reached the 5th level of the martial immortal realm. When combined, they had the power of the 15th level of the martial immortal realm. Even his godly demon body, with the accumulation of a large number of treasures, had reached the power of the 150 realm. However, the weakest Dantian had failed repeatedly. If I don't rush up, I won't come out of seclusion. Lin Ling became stubborn. He knew very well that if the 4th Dantian did not succeed, he would definitely be lacking in strength to fight against a sage-to-be. Next, he carefully cultivated and did not dare to be greedy. The 4th Dantian also slowly improved, and gradually reached the World King realm, then the True God realm. As it got closer and closer to the martial immortal realm, Lin Ling became more careful. Fortunately this time, he successfully entered the martial immortal realm, and the rainbow also appeared. Unfortunately, the fourth Dantian's talent was very ordinary, so Rainbow was also extremely ordinary. However, Lin Ling was still secretly delighted. Then, he borrowed the large amount of spiritual energy gathered in his body and tried to break through to the martial immortal realm again. Second level of the martial immortal realm. The third level of the martial immortal realm. Fourth level of the martial immortal realm. In the end, his fourth Dantian had also reached the fifth level of the martial immortal realm. This caused Lin Ling to finally open his eyes, which were filled with ecstasy. With the fusion of the four Dantians, the strength of the boundary essence had already reached the level of a 20th stage martial immortal. Moreover, compared to Li Xiaoyao at that time, Lin Ling's three Dantians were not weak at all. Li Xiaoyao is getting closer and closer to his peak. Lin Ling rubbed his palms. Right now he had to choose the path of cultivation. He could comprehend martial arts. It could also be used to cultivate rank power. Moreover, he would be able to unseal the true God martial spirit. In the end, Lin Ling gave up on unsealing the true God martial spirit, because unsealing all four Dantians would take too much time. Therefore he chose to comprehend martial arts. After reaching the middle stage of the martial immortal realm, in addition to the powerful boundary essence, I can also use the martial arts left behind by Li Xiaoyao. However, the most important thing is still the Dragon Clan's 8 tribes' divine ability, Great Calamity destroying Sunbow. Lin Ling muttered to himself. The 8 tribes' divine ability he obtained was the Heavenly Dragon Technique, which was also the Dragon God's guardian of the Buddha God. It could kill gods and demons. I have seen the people of the world, walking in the boundless dust. They do not know what is going on. What is going on? How long can they enjoy glory and splendor? How many days do they have? Even if they have 1,000 caddies of gold, they do not know the poverty of the forest. Lin Ling silently chanted in his heart. Deep within his bones, the power of the dragon bone also spread out and formed a dazzling light in his left hand. Then, Lin Ling pulled his left hand, and a majestic giant bow that seemed to be formed by the dragon bone appeared. In the past, this dragon bow could kill a half-sage with one arrow. Unfortunately, my accuracy was too bad, so this time I have to improve it. Lin Ling knew very well that even if he had a powerful bow and arrow, if he didn't have a good aim, everything would be nonsense. Therefore, he also unceasingly comprehended. The first arrow, the heavenly dragon's protection, the good karma increases day by day. The second arrow, gather the emperor's karma, Bodhi does not retreat. A Buddha-like voice floated in Lin Ling's mind. What surprised him was that the great calamity destroying Sun Bao was not worth a single arrow. According to legend, it could shoot 9 arrows, forming the 9 heavenly dragons' protection, the protection of all Buddhas, the connection of fate. This meant that when 9 arrows were shot, not only in this life, but also in the next life and the future life, it was extremely powerful. The Dragon Clan's 8 tribes' divine ability is indeed terrifying. Lin Ling was shocked. The great calamity destroying Sunbao's arrow had the speed of 100 worlds. What if 9 arrows were shot? Moreover, Lin Ling also suddenly comprehended something with that arrow. The speed of his god-devil body also greatly increased. Unknowingly, it reached the speed of 40 worlds. At this moment, small finger-sized holes appeared in the huge mountain range he was in, like a beehive. This was the result of Lin Ling's arrow. What was terrifying was that the arrow that could kill a god-devil actually caused such a small reaction after piercing through the mountain range. Even the passing cultivators did not notice it. While he was in seclusion, Lin Ling also checked the scabbard. The scabbard required his essence, energy, and spirit. At this moment, his essence, energy, and spirit had greatly increased, causing the power of the sword to increase by a lot. Time quietly passed like this, and the area around Dragon Tooth City became quiet. On this day, Dragon Tooth City finally welcomed an expert. This was a young man. He rode 3 cheilants and arrived like a divine general. The moment he appeared in the sky above Dragon Tooth City, all the martial artists in the city found it difficult to breathe. They felt extremely oppressed. Obviously, He was another expert of the sage-to-be realm. Senior Lu, are you here? A soft voice floated out from the young man's mouth. Who are you? Why are you looking for Lord Lu? In the city, an old man immediately cupped his hands and bowed. He was an expert at the peak of the martial immortal realm. Scram! The young man took a step forward. What was terrifying was that his step caused the entire city to explode, as if it had been ruthlessly slapped down by someone. The old man's expression changed greatly, different from others. He saw a huge foot that was ruthlessly stomping down on him. That foot was like the leg of a deity. Sir, please spare my life. The old man knew that the young man was a genuine expert of the sage-to-be realm. Unfortunately, it was too late. Everyone saw the old man's body explode. What was terrifying was that no one saw how the young man attacked. Everyone only saw the young man take a step forward. How dare you? Why did you kill the people of my Bailey family? Just at this moment, a furious roar suddenly sounded. Bailey Ishiong soared into the sky. Who are you? The young man looked at Bailey Ishiong with contempt. Sage-to-be realm? Too weak, too weak. You only have a first-grade desolate body. Savage 18 steps, cloudless deity. Chapter 30-23. Besiege the heavenly river. Zhong Yin Guju, the guard of the gods. Bailey Ishiong tenaciously looked at that giant, his complexion greatly shocked. However, the formless pressure from the sky assaulted him, causing him to raise both of his hands to block that dreadful power. Boom! Boom! Bailey Ishiong's body was suddenly pressed down, and a huge crater appeared on the ground. Looking carefully, the shape of the crater was a footprint. And in that deep pit, Bailey Ishiong's entire body was coughing up blood. He grimaced in pain as he desperately tried to block the invisible force in the sky. At this moment, his heart was also rumbling. What kind of power was this? Why was it so terrifying? Since he'd attained the half-saint realm, this was the first time he'd experienced the feeling of being easily suppressed by someone of the same cultivation level. Junior brother Lingbao, he's one of us. However, just when Bailey Ishiong was on the verge of death, an anxious voice sounded. Lu Xingyin had finally appeared. So that's how it is. In the sky, the young man looked at the ground with disdain. With a twitch of his brows, the terrifying power from before disappeared. Cough cough. Bailey Ishiong coughed up a mouthful of blood, and then floated up from the deep pit with a dignified expression. He seemed to have guessed that this person was from the heavenly court, as mentioned by Lu Xingyin. This person's strength was indeed terrifying. Senior brother Lu, Master is very dissatisfied with you. You can't even resolve such a small matter. Among the 18 branches of the heavenly court, you are the worst. The young man walked down from the sky with his hands clasped behind his back. He was reprimanding Lu Xingyin like a teacher. Junior brother, I didn't want to do this either. Hearing this, Lu Xingyin cursed in his heart, but he still had a helpless expression on his face. Martial god Qilin had a total of 18 disciples. Among them, Lu Xingyin was not the most favored one. The young man in front of him was called Tian Lingbao. He was also a leader of a branch of the heavenly court. He was ordered by martial god Qilin to help Lu Xingyin. No wonder he was so arrogant. After the young man landed on the ground, he didn't even look at Lu Xingyin, and immediately walked towards the city. Prepare a feast for me. I want the best wine, the best meat, and the most beautiful women. His voice drifted over at the same time. All right, junior brother, I'll get it done right away. Lu Xingyin did not dare to neglect, and quickly replied. Lord Lu, who is this person? He's too arrogant. After Lu Xingyin, Bailey Ishiong followed. He was still not happy. He had been trampled on in front of everyone. He had lost a lot of face. He's a genius from the spirit state Xian sect, a member of the heavenly court, and one of the disciples of the martial god's master. I advise you not to offend him, or else even I won't be able to save you, Lu Xingyin said solemnly. His words made Bailey Ishiong's pupils constrict. Xianzong. It was one of the two most powerful royal sects in the spirit state. It was as famous as the Vajrayana sect, and controlled the entire spirit state. Unlike the other weak divine lands, the esoteric sect and the prominent sect were powerful forces outside of the 9 states. In the 9 states, Many powerhouses knew about them. The people of Xianzong have the heavenly court as their backing. Indeed, we cannot afford to offend them, Bailey Yixiong secretly said. Both of them quickly caught up with that youth. In a vast hall that had just been built, the fragrance of wine floated. The heavenly spiritual treasure was sitting at the head of the hall, hugging two beautiful women. His big hands stroked the two women's cheeks until they blushed. Tell me, who are our opponents? The heavenly spiritual treasure stared at the two beauties in his arms and said lightly, They are 3 young men of unknown origin. They have called on the nearby tribes to fight against us. Lu Xingyin said immediately. Oh, interesting. What's their cultivation? The heavenly spiritual treasure smiled faintly. Hearing this, Lu Xingyin and Bailey Yixiong looked at each other, and their faces were a little embarrassed. Finally they said, Middle stage martial immortal realm. Bang! The heavenly spiritual treasure suddenly smashed the wine cup on the table. 2 good-for-nothings. But one of them is too difficult to deal with. He has an unknown divine bow, and he can kill a sage-to-be. Lu Xingyin quickly explained. No need to explain. Explaining is covering up. It can't cover up your trash. You said that person has a divine bow and can kill you. But why are you still alive? Also, why is such a divine bow controlled by a junior in the martial immortal realm? The heavenly spiritual treasure said disdainfully. I don't know, but it seems that the divine bow is not a treasure, but a divine power of the dragon clan. Lu Xingyin said. It's getting more and more interesting. I'm very curious about that divine power. Well, I'll kill those 3 cockroaches for you today. Good. The heavenly spiritual treasure seemed to have heard something that moved him. This trip was really not in vain. Junior brother Lingbao, shall we set off now? Good. Seeing that the heavenly spiritual treasure was moved, Lu Xingyin and Bailey Yixiong suddenly looked forward to it. Don't worry, we'll kill them tomorrow. Have a good rest today. They can't escape even if they grow wings. Good. The heavenly spiritual treasure's voice was mixed with strong confidence, which made Lu Xingyin and others laugh. With the help of the heavenly spiritual treasure, they would definitely be able to kill Lin Ling. That night, the heavenly spiritual treasure enjoyed the beauties, and this person was extremely powerful. He actually asked for 3,000 beauties in one night. This made Bailey Yixiong gasp. He was afraid that this genius expert would not be able to lift his spirits tomorrow. However, the next day, the heavenly spiritual treasure appeared in spirit. Let's go and kill them. After saying that, the heavenly spiritual treasure took the lead. Although he looked young, he already had the prestige of an immortal emperor. Both Lu Xingyin and Bailey Yixiong nodded. Bailey Yixiong told Lu Xingyin that he was going to prepare. But when he secretly checked, he was horrified to find that the 3,000 beauties had been ravaged to death, and many of them were young girls. What a beast-like existence! Even though Bailey Yixiong was not a good person, he was also horrified by the ruthlessness of the heavenly spiritual treasure. This young man looked gentle on the surface, but he was actually like a tiger. They're in the heavenly river. Our people found that they're hiding in the heavenly river. A group of people left the Dragon Tooth City. Someone immediately told Lu Xingyin and others to go to the heavenly river. At this moment, in the heavenly river, the patriarchs of the major clans naturally received the news, and they were all on guard. What should we do? Now that they've arrived at the heavenly river, should we inform Lin Ling and others to come out? It's almost been a year. The people of the Longevity clan said uneasily. What are you panicking for? This is our territory. Why should we be afraid of them? The patriarch immediately reprimanded. Wait here and see how strong they are. Hearing this, the people of the major clans waited quietly, because if they left the heavenly river, their combat strength would be greatly reduced. At this moment above the heavenly river, many experts appeared, overlooking the rolling river below. The Uzumaki clan is good at water. They can greatly increase their strength by hiding in the river. But after we enter the water, our strength will more or less weaken. So over the years, we have not conquered the nearby area. Chapter 30-24. Dream Flow was resisting a half-saint. As soon as he finished speaking, he began to move. His seemingly casual steps were mesmerizing. Those who were weaker stared at his legs and directly spat out blood. All of a sudden, they realized that those footsteps were not something they could see through. Savage 18 steps, cloudless deity. A low shout suddenly sounded. World essence that could destroy anything in its path surged out. Everyone saw a godlike foot ruthlessly stomp down on the ferocious river below. It was awe-inspiring. This is at least a level 7 deity martial art. Bailey Ishiong said with a grave expression, when he saw the familiar foot again. The path of martial arts was as vast as the universe. Any great Tao could reach the pinnacle. Some were proficient in talent. Some were proficient in martial arts. And some were simple and crude, relying on superior talent and cultivation realm. Heaven's spiritual treasures, on the other hand, were clearly adept at martial arts. Furthermore, they also possessed powerful innate talents. Rumble. Under the sole of that foot, the heavenly river exploded. Countless amounts of river water were crushed and directly evaporated. What kind of power is this? In the river, a rolling whirlpool appeared, shocking everyone. They had been in the heavenly river for so many years, but this was the first time they had seen the entire river tumbling. Boom! At this time, another rumbling sound rang out. The people of the various clans were unable to stand steadily, and some of them even directly fell to the ground. It doesn't matter. They don't dare to go down the river, so they can only be arrogant on the river. It won't be long before they leave helplessly. The Uzumaki patriarch frowned and said, "Boom, boom." However, the roar continued to sound. At first, everyone believed the words of the Uzumaki clan's patriarch, but gradually, they found that something is wrong with the river. Because the sky is shrouded in light, this meant that there was less and less water in the river, which caused the light from the sky to shine down. Heavens, what kind of god has come from the heavenly court? This time everyone panicked even more. One had to know that the heavenly river was the water of the universe. For some reason, it had flowed into the dragon tongue Fong, forming a natural barrier. But now, this natural barrier was gradually disappearing. Bunch of beasts, you won't be able to escape even if you grow wings. Let me give you a piece of advice. You'd better obediently roll out of here. Put your hands on your heads, and walk out in a horse stance. At this moment, a mocking voice came from the sky. Haha, many people even laughed mockingly. Wasn't it the walking posture of a crab when it held its head and walked out in a horse stance? Haha, this group of lowly commoners can't be arrogant now, right? Lu Xingyan also smiled faintly. It was indeed a heaven's spiritual treasure. The terrifying 18 steps of the savage wilderness had actually crushed the heavenly river. It was truly an amazing existence. You don't want to come out? I like people with integrity the most. At this moment, the celestial spiritual treasure said mockingly and stepped forward again. Rumble. The river was getting smaller and smaller, gradually revealing a large number of powerhouses under the river. The Uzumaki clan and the others were dumbfounded as they stared blankly at the sky. Clearly, they did not expect the other party to step into the heavenly river so quickly. Is it you lowly commoners? Go to hell. Looking at the powerhouses of the Uzumaki clan, the celestial spirit treasure smiled disdainfully and raised his foot high, as if he was going to trample on the world. A terrifying pressure shrouded everyone under the river. Stop him! Everyone immediately burst out with all their strength and shot into the sky like a swarm of locusts. At the same time, the ferocious foot descended, and an ancient giant appeared and stomped down fiercely. It seemed to be able to break the dragon's tongue and teeth in half. The powerhouses of the major clans all rushed into the sky and collided with the foot. It's at least 30% of the realm power. The patriarch of the Uzumaki clan said seriously before approaching the power in the sky. But at this point he could only resist it. Looking from afar, the scene was extremely spectacular. The foot condensed by boundary essence stepped on the ground, and a large number of powerhouses rushed into the sky, trying to block the foot. However, no matter how many powerhouses there were, it seemed to be useless. The foot was still slowly stepping down. Haha, my foot is fragrant. The celestial spiritual treasure looked indifferent. Puff! All the powerhouses spat out blood. One should know that their physical strength was extremely tyrannical. But now, that strength was useless. I'll help you. But at this moment, a fierce shout suddenly sounded, and then a white-haired young man appeared. He didn't move much, but his palm reached toward the foot in the sky. Suddenly, the celestial spiritual treasure's expression changed, and he quickly retracted his foot. But it was still too late. Under his foot, a stream of blood flowed out. Very good. A 6th-level martial immortal can actually hurt me. Tell me your name. The celestial spiritual treasure's expression became extremely ugly. This person who suddenly appeared was somewhat extraordinary. Meng Lu. Under the ground, the white-haired young man looked up at the sky with a cold expression. Young hero Meng Lu. The people of the major clans were ecstatic. These geniuses were indeed powerful. One of them blocked the attack of that powerhouse. However, Meng Lu didn't have any pride. His previous attack could be said to have erupted with all his strength, but it only injured the latter. The half-step Saint realm was indeed worthy of its reputation. Be my subordinate, and I'll spare your life. The celestial spiritual treasure looked down at Meng Lu with the intention of recruiting him. Meng Lu raised his head and said indifferently, "You've only cultivated longer than me. If I reach the half-step Saint realm, I can kill an ant like you with a single finger. You're a good emperor-level genius. I'll give you another chance. Be my subordinate. Although your future is indeed good, if you die halfway, then everything will be fleeting clouds." The celestial spiritual treasure also became cold. I, Meng Lu, will never be anyone's subordinate. That's the case in this life, and that's the case in the next. Meng Lu's long hair fluttered, and his backbone was extremely strong. Very arrogant. Then let's see how many steps you can take. The celestial spiritual treasure also knew that he couldn't recruit a genius like Meng Lu. 18 steps of the savage soldier's saber calamity name. The celestial spiritual treasure unleashed an even stronger attack, and its great power reached as much as 40%. Boom! The ground instantly cracked, as if the heavens and earth were falling apart. A foot covered the sky as it stomped down heavily. Get down! The celestial spiritual treasure let out a furious roar. Young hero Meng Lu quickly retreat. Seeing this, the people of the major clans all became nervous. Boom! However, Meng Lu didn't retreat. Instead, he charged toward the sky, carrying the pride of the Tomb Guardian clan to fight against the famous powerhouse of the Spirit Province. Unfortunately, his cultivation was still a bit weak, and he was no match for that ferocious foot. Therefore he was suppressed. Even so, the celestial spiritual treasure's eyes narrowed. Meng Lu was only at the middle stage of the martial immortal realm, but he actually blocked his half-step Saint realm attack. One must know that his attack could not only trample martial immortals to death, but it could also trample ordinary half-step saints to death. Chapter 30-25. The pride of his brothers, the tomb of Saha. Leave immediately. Almost at the same time, Meng Lu's voice rang out, causing the expressions of the people from the various clans to change drastically. Meng Lu wanted them to leave? If we leave, you'll die. The patriarch of the Uzumaki clan roared. If I die, it will prove that this is all I am. Meng Lu growled. Boom! Everyone's hearts thundered. This was a true genius. If I die, it proves that I'm only so. This was a genius who challenged the limits of his life. Go! The patriarch of the Uzumaki clan shouted. The short and stout members of the Ugly Elephant clan displayed their innate talent, and quickly dug holes under the ground. In just 3 breaths of time, a huge hole had appeared. From this, one could see how powerful this clan was. They could even dig a hole in the primal chaos, and enter the void to reach the other side. Go! After that, the people of the various clans did not dare to stay for long. They all jumped into the deep hole. Oh no, they're escaping! Seeing this, Lu Xingyun and the others' expressions changed drastically. This was the best opportunity. How could they miss it? What's the big deal about the life and death of an ant like him? Instead, it's this guy called Meng Lu who's moved me the most. However, the celestial spiritual treasure didn't care about their escape. Instead, it looked at Dreamflow calmly. Let's go kill them all. Heavenly spiritual treasures did not care about the lives of ants. But Lu Xingyin and Bailey Yixiong cared. So they both rushed to the ground, trying to kill everyone. Rumble! But at this moment, the huge white bone giant suddenly arrived. A long halberd ruthlessly swept out, creating a foul wind and a rain of blood. The warriors of Dragon Tooth City were ruthlessly smashed into pieces, causing blood to rain down like rain. Even Lu Xingyan and Lu Xinyan's expressions changed drastically. They were somewhat fearful of this attack. Subconsciously, they all retreated. The halberd was like a rainbow, piercing through the horizon. A white bone giant appeared on the ground. It had a long halberd in its right hand, and a bone shield in its left. It was as if it had come from the underworld. It's Sakura. This fellow has also grown to such a level? It's only been a year. Lu Xingyan and the other man looked at the white bone giant on the ground, and their pupils suddenly trembled violently. Even Meng Lu turned his head to look, a smile full of fighting spirit appearing at the corner of his mouth. Indeed, Sakura did not disgrace him. Although he was also a martial immortal, he was able to make a half-saint retreat in fear with a single strike. Another genius. He must be the strongest of the three. That heavenly numinous treasure was also a little surprised. These young men who had suddenly appeared were one more shocking than the other. That's not the case. There's another person who's even stronger. However, Lu Xingyan's next words made the heaven spiritual treasure look incredulous. These two youths were already very strong, exceeding his imagination. Even in the spirit province, they were rare talents. But who knew that there was an even stronger one? I believe in the legend of the divine bow. Hehe, if I get that cultivation method, I wonder how much my strength will increase. The heavenly spiritual treasure obviously didn't care about the appearance of Sakura. Instead, he felt that this trip wasn't in vain, because he wanted to seize the advantage of these youths. Let's go. At this moment, Sakura let out a roar, causing the people of the tribe to not dare to stay and quickly retreat. Sakura, you are very impressive. However, can you block two half-saints? Lu Xingyan's eyes were full of murderous intent. This Sakura must not be left alive. After saying that, he and Bailey Ishiong looked at each other, and the two of them joined forces to attack Sakura. Boom, boom, crack, crack. Even though Sakura was a rare genius, blocking two half-saints at the same time put a lot of pressure on him. A huge white bone shield appeared in his hand, crazily blocking the attacks of the two, which made Lu Xingyan and the others look even more dignified. In just a short year, Sakura seemed to have changed into a different person. How terrifying. Sakura, take them away. At this moment, Meng Lu let out a roar. You're crazy. Sakura immediately shook his head. Haha, you've stirred up huge waves in Dragon Tooth City. But such a heroic thing has nothing to do with me. As a man, as a cultivator who came from the same place as you, I've been humiliated, so today is my stage. I'm going to stop them all by myself, and let you all escape unscathed. Meng Lu sneered and said arrogantly. Hearing this, Sakura was stunned. He knew that Meng Lu was also a proud person. But Meng Lu had not made any achievements all this time. With Meng Lu's pride, this was not something he could tolerate. So today he decided to save everyone with his life. Sakura, I'm very happy to meet you. And I'm also very happy to meet Lin Ling. The days when we roamed the world together made me experience happiness that I've never experienced before in the clan. Also, the battle made my blood boil. But don't let me down. Tomb of Saha. With the last roar, the world began to change. The earth disappeared, and the sky disappeared. A lonely, cold, and silent atmosphere filled the air. All the worlds disappeared, and only an ancient tomb appeared, as if it was the tomb of an ancient god. Fallen leaves scattered in eternal destruction. What kind of talent is this? Sensing the mysterious atmosphere, the faces of heaven's spiritual treasure and other experts changed greatly. They could only see the ancient tomb, and everything before had disappeared. Well done, Meng Lu, you're a real man. Sakura's eyes became moist. Chapter 30-26. Lin Ling had come out of seclusion. Capture him. Looking at the exhausted Meng Lu, the celestial spiritual treasure waved his hand. Junior brother Lingbao, should we kill him? Lu Xingyan wished he could tear Meng Lu into pieces. A genius like Meng Lu was just too terrifying. Leave him here for the time being. Make an example out of him, and unify the dragon tongue and Fong. The celestial spiritual treasure left these words and left. Unify the dragon tongue and Fong. Hearing his words, all the warriors let out a deafening roar. The celestial spiritual treasure was indeed an expert from the heavenly court. He had only been here for a day, but he had conquered the dragon tongue and Fong at lightning speed. I'll give you one more chance. If you agree to submit to me tomorrow, you won't have to die. Meng Lu was still standing on the ground, but the celestial spiritual treasure's voice rang in his ears. This made him say expressionlessly, "Even if you give me 10,000 years, I won't change my mind." This guy is really arrogant. If he's just being shameless. If he follows the celestial spiritual treasure, he can enter the prominent sect. He might even become a member of the heavenly court and be valued by the martial god. He'll have a meteoric rise. In this vast universe, there are still a lot of fools. Seeing Meng Lu stubbornly refusing to submit, many people laughed sarcastically. That night, the Dragon Tooth City was also bustling with noise and excitement, as if they had won a great battle. Facts also proved that the fierce dragon crossing the river was still not as fierce as the local snake. Compared to the liveliness of the Dragon Tooth City, the ancient forest was much quieter. Except for the occasional cries of fierce beasts, the forest was like a deadly enemy. Hurry up and return to the city. Night is a paradise for monsters. At this moment, several figures were quickly passing through the forest. Their faces were filled with anxiety, and they were extremely cautious. In the ancient forest, except for those experts whom people looked up to, ordinary people did not dare to spend the night in the ancient forest because it was too dangerous. At this moment, a huge mountain range appeared in front of them. It was ancient and sacred, like a giant beast standing in the forest. Oh no, there's the smell of blood. Suddenly, one of the middle-aged men's expression changed drastically. After he spoke, something strange happened. The forest rustled. Then, a black behemoth the size of an ancient cow walked out quietly with ferocious breaths coming out of its nostrils. This was a royal ring black extinction wolf. According to legend, it was a descendant of the vast moon cow and the dark cloud wolf. It was a product of the era of the gods, and it was also the taboo of this ancient forest. Generally speaking, such vicious wolves would only appear at night. They could use the darkness of the night to greatly increase their strength. Even 10th layer martial immortals would not be able to do anything to them. We're finished. The middle-aged man also knew how terrifying that beast was, so he smiled bitterly. Father, what should we do? Master, let's run. There were 3 other people beside him, and they all spoke up. It could be seen that they were a group of loose cultivators who had come here to obtain some heavenly materials and spiritual treasures, but they were unlucky to have encountered such a beast. We can't escape. The middle-aged man shook his head helplessly. Under the night sky, the Imperial Ring Black Extinction Wolf's speed reached the speed of 38 worlds. It was much faster than them. Father. Hearing this, one of the young girl's eyes became moist. Roar. At this moment, the Imperial Ring Black Extinction Wolf strode forward proudly. It did not attack immediately, as if it was the king of the divine beasts, enjoying the fear of the ants. The pressure suddenly enveloped them like a huge mountain, and they did not dare to move at all. Bang! However, at this moment, the sound of light footsteps suddenly resounded. A slender figure appeared in the depths of the ancient mountain. His footsteps weren't fast, but they carried the rhythm of the universe. In just a few breaths of time, he appeared in the open space. This was a young man with delicate features. He was wearing a clean long robe, making it hard for anyone to forget him with a single glance. Young man, hurry up and leave. Young man. Seeing the young man, the middle-aged man in front of him subconsciously said. The young man was very unlucky. He knew that the Imperial Ring Black Extinction Wolf was here, but he still came here. Wasn't he looking for death? However, the young man did not move at all. Instead, he smiled faintly. Woo. Almost at the same time, the Imperial Ring Black Extinction Wolf stopped. It bared its teeth and made a low sound, as if it had met its natural enemy. You just came out of seclusion, so you're in a good mood. I'll spare your life. Woo. The young man didn't even look at the wolf as he muttered to himself. His words caused everyone to cry out in alarm. Just who was this guy talking to? Was he talking to the Imperial Ring Black Extinction Wolf? Was he crazy? Wu. However, the Imperial Ring Black Extinction Wolf's tail drooped down. Its ferocious aura disappeared, and its voice became deeper. In the end, it stared at the young man, turned into a ray of black light, and disappeared. Its intuition told it that it could not afford to offend the mysterious young man. What? Wu. Seeing this, the middle-aged man and the others were shocked. The Imperial Ring Black Extinction Wolf was the taboo of the ancient forest. Even a level 10 martial immortal could not resist it. But now the ferocious wolf had run away. Could it be that it was afraid of the young man? Amazing! Wu! The young girl touched her small mouth, and her eyes were filled with disbelief. If the young man and the Imperial Ring Black Extinction Wolf had a big fight, and the Imperial Ring Black Extinction Wolf had run away, she would think it was normal. However, the young man had only said a few words, and the Imperial Ring Black Extinction Wolf had disappeared without a trace. My friends, what happened in the ancient forest during this time? Yes. While the crowd was exclaiming, the young man walked over with a smile. There are many small things, but there is one big thing. I heard that the Dragon Teeth City is going to unify the Dragon Tongue Tooth region. The middle-aged man looked at the young man in awe. Oh, why would the Dragon Teeth City do that? The young man looked interested. I heard that an expert came and bombarded the Heavenly River. The tribes in the forest were almost annihilated. In the end, one person was caught. Now, the Dragon Teeth City is calling all the powerful forces in the vicinity to gather in the Dragon Teeth City tomorrow. The middle-aged man said again. Hearing that, the young man's expression changed slightly. He looked into the distance and said, "Sir, thank you." After saying that, the young man walked away. His pace was not fast, but in the blink of an eye, he had disappeared. How fast? I'm afraid that's the speed of 35 worlds. Seeing that the handsome young man had disappeared, the young girl's eyes widened. She knew that she had met an expert. It's more than that. The Imperial Ring Black Extinction Wolf has the speed of 38 worlds, but it was afraid of the young man. That means that the young man's speed is above the speed of 38 worlds. The middle-aged man said solemnly, "He's so powerful. He looks like he's the same age as us. Why is he so much stronger than us?" Hearing that, the several people of the younger generation all revealed expressions of admiration. He must be a genius from the Tantric sect, or the prominent sect of the spirit state. These geniuses cannot be measured by common sense. They are the descendants of gods. They can travel all over the 9 states. They are not people we can look up to. Father, I didn't expect that we would be lucky enough to meet such an expert. I'm so jealous of him. When did Lin Ling come in front of him? He could not see through such a speed at all. For a moment, Bailey Yixiong stood there and did not dare to move. Lin Ling smiled coldly and stepped forward. That subtle movement made Bailey Yixiong's whole body tremble, as if he had seen a ferocious monster. A dignified sage-to-be is actually scared to this extent. Seeing this scene, everyone continued to exclaim. Even Di Shirtian and Meng Lu opened their mouths wide. The sage-to-be realm was the sky of Azure Prefecture. It was an expert on the same level as Emperor Qing. Not long ago, they were helpless when facing such an expert. However, in such a short period of time, Lin Ling was already capable of making a sage-to-be panic. This meant that if Lin Ling returned to Azure Prefecture, then Azure Prefecture would respect him. I don't know how this fellow cultivates. His comprehension ability is terrifying, and even his combat strength is terrifying. Meng Lu shook his head helplessly. He could be considered a formidable genius, but compared to Lin Ling, he was like the light of a firefly. Lord Spirit Treasure, save me. At this moment, Bailey Yixiong seemed to have lost the ability to resist, so he could only seek help from the Heaven Spirit Treasure. Your strength is really strange. I always thought it was an illusion, but now I realize that you can really defeat a sage-to-be at the first level. The Heaven Spirit Treasure knew that he should make a move. He had been observing Lin Ling all along, so he was familiar with Lin Ling's strength. Of course, the more familiar he was, the more shocked he was. You can't kill him with me here. The heaven spirit treasure finally intended to make a move. He raised his foot high as if he wanted to trample the world. If I, Lin Ling, want to kill someone, not even the gods can save him. The dragon-toothed city, which was already in ruins, turned into ashes. In the sky, the world essence seemed to be boiling, surging and moving. This caused the 10th layer martial immortal experts to tumble in the air like straws, unable to control their bodies. However, they were also staring at the scene of the collision. Then, they were shocked to find that Lin Ling's sword had actually blocked the foot in the sky. Lord Heaven's spiritual treasure is more powerful than Lu Xingyan and Bailey Yixiong. Even if the two of them joined forces, they would not be a match for Lord Heaven's spiritual treasure. However, that fierce dragon called Lin Ling blocked the foot by himself. Moreover, Lin Ling has just killed Bailey Yixiong. Even though he was anxious, he was still able to resist the attack. He is truly a genius. This is a battle between geniuses. However, compared to Heaven's spiritual treasure, that junior called Lin Ling is more like a genius. Everyone was sent flying by the impact, but they still spoke one after another. That's not how you cultivate the savage 18 steps. Lin Ling held the sword with both hands, still blocking the foot in the sky, and said disdainfully at the same time. His words were undoubtedly like a slap on Heaven's spiritual treasure's face. A junior of the martial immortal realm had actually used a lecturing tone to talk to him? Do you only know how to show off? The savage 18 steps is a great body. Heaven's spiritual treasure was obviously angry. His feet moved in a strange way, and repeatedly stepped on the ground, as if a giant was going to stomp on the earth. According to legend, his talent was God's guard. The strength of his feet was extremely terrifying, and he could erupt 50% of his cultivation level's strength. Coupled with his second-level desolate body, he did not believe that he could not stomp this cockroach to death. Boom! 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 The ground continued to shake as if the dragon's tongue and teeth had been destroyed. Countless feet stepped on the void. Everyone was floating in the distance, and their faces were filled with horror. Under such a terrifying attack, could Lin Ling still be alive? The savage 18 steps is full of loopholes. How did your master teach you? Did he teach you to eat shit? However, before the terrifying power disappeared, a disdainful voice was heard. On the shattered ground, Lin Ling stood with his sword in hand. Not only did he look fine, but he was also trembling with spirit. How is this possible? Heaven's spiritual treasure's eyes widened. His previous move could not even be blocked by a first-level half-saint, let alone Lin Ling, who was only a martial immortal. He did not know that the martial art he practiced was taught to martial god Qilin by Li Xiaoyao. In terms of familiarity with the savage 18 steps, no one was more familiar than Lin Ling. The martial art was an advanced 7th-level martial art. It was as vast as the universe. The celestial spiritual treasure looked extremely miserable, but it also made a weak voice, as if it wanted to understand everything before it died. Because after learning about Lu Xingyan's news, it had always thought that the three young men were ants, and could not make any big waves. However, it turned out that the three young men were extremely extraordinary, especially the young man in the blue robe. Li Xiaoyao, die! Lin Ling looked down at the celestial spiritual treasure, and the corners of his mouth moved slightly, and he spat out a sentence. Li Xiaoyao, die! Hearing this, the celestial spiritual treasure's eyes kept flickering, as if it was searching for something in its mind. Finally, its pupils trembled fiercely. It had only heard the name Li Xiaoyao once in its life, and that was when it accidentally heard its master talking with an expert. It seemed that this Li Xiaoyao was a person that even its master was extremely afraid of, and there was a blood feud between them. However, another expert had also said that Li Xiaoyao was dead. At that time, it clearly saw its master's face relax. But now Li Xiaoyao had returned? You, die! The celestial spiritual treasure pointed at Lin Ling, as if it was the final radiance of the setting sun, and wanted to say something. In fact, it wanted to tell its master that Li Xiaoyao had returned. Haha, I'll take your dog life. Haha, Lin Ling sneered. Without waiting for the arrow to end the celestial spiritual treasure's life, he raised his foot high and condensed all the remaining realm essence in his dantian into the sole of his foot. 18 Savage Steps. 18 Savage Steps. Did you teach this martial art to my master? Haha. Seeing this, the celestial spiritual treasure's pupils trembled. He found that Lin Ling's 18 Savage Steps was more charming than his own, and even more ancient than his master's. Boom!